Hello everyone, Jordan Ray here for another video on Google Apps Script. I'm going to be talking about simple triggers and the event object, the event parameter that gets passed in to these triggers. This was a comment posted by Anna on one of my other videos asking about more detail about this event object. So I thought I'd kind of throw together some quick and painless examples and go through them. I created a little script here just with some examples. A lot of comments, and I'll share this below. But I think the most important part of this video are the examples that I'm going to go through. The simple triggers that are available in Sheets, Docs, and Forms are OnOpen, OnInstall, and OnEdit. OnEdit is only usable in Sheets. Now the other two simple triggers are DoGet and DoPost, and those are used when you deploy an app script as a web application. And they get triggered when you make a GET request or a POST request, the HTTP request to your web app. And then the most useful of those are the query string, parameter, and parameters. And I'll talk about those more in a second. So let's get started. Here's the first example of an OnOpen trigger that is bound to a document. So the OnOpen, it's just simply a function named OnOpen. It is case sensitive, so that O needs to be capitalized. And you pass in the event parameter. I generally use E. That's what they use in the documentations, but it can be anything you want. You could type out the word event, or you could name it, jumbo shrimp. You can name it anything you want to. It doesn't really matter as long as you're consistent throughout your function. But I think it's best to be consistent. So I just use E. Now, what this trigger does is it creates a date object called today, and then it gets the source where it is triggered, which is the document itself, and then to the body of that source, it's going to append a paragraph with the date and time, and then a horizontal rule. So every time you open this document, it's going to create you a little date and time, horizontal rule, and then you can take notes below it. I was thinking about creating a reflection journal for classes. So every time I open it, it automatically says the date and time, and then I can make notes about, make some simple little reflections on how the class period went. So I just refreshed the page, and you should actually see it trigger in a second, and there it goes. Tuesday, August 1st, and at about 3:40 in the afternoon. And of course, you can modify the date object with JavaScript to display any way you want, or build the trigger to do any number of useful things. On to the next example. Now this one's a little more complicated. I have an OnEdit function that is bound to a sheet. And what it's going to do, it's going to take a column of numbers. Let's say I have 12, 13, 5, 18, 20. Okay, just a column full of numbers. The OnEdit function, I'm going to go ahead and save it. Really, it passes in this event parameter. And we're going to use that in a couple of ways here. It's first going to get the row and the column that were just edited. Then it's going to create an adjacent cell using the spreadsheet app, get range, and then I'm going to take that row and then add one to the column, just to go one over to the right, which is really, it's going to grab this B column. Then we're going to get a new value and an old value, and I'm going to do a couple of comparison. Well, I'm going to use some logic here if and else if, else, to either say the new value increased, decreased, it's the same, or let's say I clear it, it's just going to erase everything in there. So if I change this to 14, I should see new value increased. If I change this to 10, I should see new value decreased. Now let's see if my 5 and 5, let's see if that updates. Sometimes if you don't change the value, it doesn't actually trigger anything. Yeah, so again, like I said, down and dirty example. Play around with the code for that. You play around with the code for this in any number of ways. Let me know what other ideas you come up with. Now, my last example involves published web app. And you see I have this doGet function here with the same e parameter fed into the function. And I'm using the parameter key and trying to get a user and an age from the parameters. Now, if there is no user or age provided, I'm just writing anonymous and ageless, and then I'm returning some HTML back to the page. It's going to show the user is aged, whatever. Now, this parameter, and for that matter, the query string and parameters, all comes from the URL, and I'll show you what I mean here. When we look at the loaded example here, it should come up in a second. Anonymous is aged, ageless. Okay, well, very simple. What's the point of that, you might say? And I would tend to agree with you, but this is just an down and dirty example that I've got here. So anonymous and ageless, because I'm not actually giving it a user or age. However, the query string, when you look at that URL, is everything that comes after. You might see a question mark. So you can type a question mark, and then you create user, and I have user equals Jordan, and then an ampersand, the little and marker, ampersand, and then age equals 34. So now I've given it a user and an age. So since now when I reload the page, now it's actually showing Jordan is aged 34. Now that's a pretty down and dirty example. Not really too much point to that, but you can tie in some other services, like let's say user equals, maybe you could do e.parameter parameter.user, can't type, or maybe I'll get the session.get active user.get email. So this time, if I don't supply a user, it's going to take the logged in, whichever user logged into this session, getting his email, putting it on the screen. So let's just remove user equals Jordan from that URL. I hope this, I can't zoom in actually on the URL, but I hope this is large enough to see. So then let's refresh that page. Oh, this time it wants authorization. So this time I've got to actually deploy. Let's do a new, because I'm getting the session information. So it's going to actually ask to get my username, and that's fine with me because it's only me running it. You might ask, why do I need to get my own email? I don't know. Who knows? Why do we learn anything? So let me refresh this page, and there we go. RayJT at gtrainerdemo.jordanray.com is age 34. So that's an example of getting your own email. And depending on how you publish your web app, you have you're open to using a number of different Google services. So that is just my quick demo of these simple triggers. Hopefully that gives you some ideas or helps you to understand exactly what you're doing. If I could help you if I could help you out with using these in any way, please comment below or subscribe to my videos. I love helping people build these things, and any conversation that we spark, I think, is a good thing for creating these tools that help teachers be more productive, teachers be more effective in the classroom. All of those things. So please comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Have a great day.